I've got a recipe here for cake. It's in a cookbook, a real one, printed, bound, and sold by a Methodist Women's Society in Sampson County, North Carolina in 1950. Here's the whole recipe, not part of it, all of it. Cream the butter and sugar, add the eggs, add the flour and milk alternately. Spread about ½ an inch thick on a cookie sheet. Bake. That's where it stops. No temperature, no time, no pan size. It ends on the word bake, and then there's white space. And she wasn't being careless. She wrote down everything she thought a recipe was. My grandmother's skillet is on my stove right now. She cooked in eastern North Carolina, and that pan is the only thing I've got that she touched every day. So I went looking for who actually wrote these dishes down. Here's the twist. Somebody did, just not her. Number 20 is one piece of fruit that keeps a salad from ever setting up. Number 8 is a cake so scandalous the church made her rename it. And number 1 is an icing with a 90-second window and what happened when she missed it in front of everybody. 25 dishes off that table. And I can't tell you her name. The book has it right under the recipe. It says Mrs. W.B. Lamb, that's her husband. Every woman in that book is credited by the man she married. Mrs. J.K. West, Mrs. B.B. Osborne, Mrs. F.B. Broadwell, Jr. Their recipes got printed and bound and sold to build a church. Their names didn't make it. One thing first, since it's in the title. Potluck is not a Native American word. People will tell you it comes from potlatch. It doesn't. First time anybody wrote potluck down was 1592 in England by a man named Thomas Nash. Potlatch doesn't enter English until about 1858. And it didn't mean bring a dish. It meant the luck of the pot. You show up unannounced and take your chances on whatever's simmering, which is still what you're doing when you eye an unlabeled casserole. Coming in at number 25, the deviled egg plate. Not the eggs. The eggs are fine. The plate. That oval with 12 hollows pressed into it, the one object in the house that exists for exactly one food. And there's a second half I didn't know. Up in Kentucky and through the mountains, plenty of churches wouldn't say deviled, so they called them dressed eggs. Same eggs, different door. The plate wasn't decoration, it was transport. Carry 24 egg halves in a flat dish and they slide and they tip. And you set down a bowl of egg and paprika soup. And at number 24, sherbet punch. Lime or orange, sherbet dropped into ginger ale, floating there like islands. Every reception in the fellowship hall, every homecoming, every funeral. It didn't die because anybody stopped liking it. It died because the bowl died. A cut glass punch bowl was a standard wedding gift right through the 1970s. Now it's a thrift store shelf. Put the sherbet in too soon and it melts into one pale slurry. 20 minutes and the whole point of it is gone before the blessing's done. At number 23, punch bowl cake. Pound cake torn up, pudding, canned fruit, whipped topping, layered in that same glass bowl. And that's no accident. It was the biggest see-through thing a Southern woman owned, and it fed 40. Nobody has ever made a punch bowl cake for 4 people. The pudding goes between the fruit and the cake. It's a barrier. Get that order wrong and the bottom third of a clear glass bowl turns gray, where everybody can see it. Landing at number 22, Russian tea. Some churches called it friendship tea, which tells you everything. Instant tea, tang, lemonade mix, cinnamon and cloves, stirred together dry and kept in a jar with a ribbon on it. Christmas gifts. The women's circle on a Tuesday morning. It has nothing whatsoever to do with Russia. Keep it dry. That's the whole recipe. 1 wet spoon, 1 humid pantry, and the jar fuses into a brick of orange concrete you break apart with a knife. The women and girls each brought a decorated pie or a boxed supper. Then they auctioned them, and whoever won got to eat with the woman who baked it. Here's the part that gets me. They kept the baker's name secret, partly so the bidding stayed honest, but also, and people said this out loud, so a girl nobody bid on wouldn't sit there while the church watched. A courtship ritual dressed up as a bake sale with a kindness rule built into it. It didn't die of taste. The thing it was for stopped happening. Claiming the number 20 spot, congealed salad, the whole category, Listen to that word, because it's the tell. Everywhere else, it's a Jell-O salad. Down here, it's congealed. Find a cookbook chapter headed Congealed Salads, and you are holding a Southern book. Now, I have to correct something gently, because I believed it, too. People say congealed salad was Depression food, stretching what you had. Out in the country, it was the opposite. In 1940, 3 out of 10 Southern households had a refrigerator. Barely half the South had an electric light. On farms in 1935, 1 in 10. So a woman who carried an intact, quivering, perfectly molded salad into a country church in 1938 was not telling you times were hard. She was telling you she had a refrigerator, most expensive thing on that table, and it wasn't close. And the failure is the one from the top of the show. Fresh pineapple carries an enzyme called bromelain that digests gelatin. Eats it. Can's been heated, so canned is fine. Use fresh and it will never set. Not overnight. Not ever. Every church has the story of the woman who brought soup. And at number 19, under the sea salad, lime gelatin, pears, cream cheese, a little ginger, in 2 layers. Came out of a corporate recipe book in New York in 1931. The South picked it up and kept it 50 years after the company moved on. The whole dish is the line between those 2 layers. Pour the clear layer on while the cream cheese layer is still warm, and they blend into one pale green sludge. At number 18, Coca-Cola salad, cherry gelatin, a bottle of Coke, canned cherries, crushed pineapple, pecans. A deep South dish, and its map looks a lot like Coca-Cola's home territory. And here's what I love. Nobody knows who made it first. No inventor, no date, no first printing. Coca-Cola has never once claimed it. Use a fresh bottle, not the half one from the icebox. Flat Coke tastes like syrup, and the pecans sink. Coming in at number 17, green stuff, lime gelatin, cottage cheese, crushed pineapple, evaporated milk, chopped nuts. I have spent real time trying to source this dish. There is nothing. No inventor, no date, no first printing anywhere. It moved through community cookbooks and handwriting and standing in a kitchen next to somebody. That's all. And the best proof it was real is the name. Nobody bothered to name it properly because everybody already knew what you meant. Cottage cheese sheds water. Let it sit and it separates right there in the dish on the table in front of everybody. Landing at number 16, 7-layer salad. The mayonnaise on top isn't dressing, it's a lid spread edge to edge as a seal so the lettuce underneath survives overnight. And while we're here, green bean casserole is not your grandmother's recipe. It was built in 1955 by a home economist named Dorcas Riley at a soup company in Camden, New Jersey. She wasn't wrong that her grandmother made it. By the 70s, half the South did. She was wrong about where it was born. And the dish it pushed out was better. Pole beans snapped by hand on a porch, cooked down for hours with a ham hock until the pot liquor was the point. Riley didn't steal that. She replaced it with something that took 6 minutes and 2 cans. Back to the salad. Seal it edge to edge. Leave one gap, and the lettuce underneath is brown by morning. Sitting at number 15, English pea salad, canned peas, cubed cheddar, chopped boiled egg, onion, mayonnaise. Most ordinary dish on this whole list, and it's gone because a canned sweet pea has no standing with anybody under 60. Fold it. Don't stir it. Work it too hard and you're serving pea paste with cheese cubes in it. At number 14, salmon croquettes. Canned salmon got pushed into the South after the World's Fair in 1904, and the Depression locked it in. Wednesday night supper. Friday in Lent. Cheap protein that kept on a shelf. You need a binder, egg, cracker meal, cold mashed potato, and you leave them alone in the pan until they set. Flip early and they come apart, and pick the bones out. Because the failure everybody remembers is somebody biting down on a vertebra. Coming in at number 13, chicken and pastry. Not dumplings, pastry. You roll the dough flat, cut it in strips, let it dry, drop it in the broth. Some folks say slicks. It is real labor, and that's exactly why the drop biscuit won and the canned biscuit won after that. Easy on the flour. Don't drop them into a hard boil. Do either, and the strips turn to paste, and the broth goes cloudy gray. And at number 12, Moravian chicken pie. The Moravians settled Salem, North Carolina in 1766. Crust top and bottom, poached chicken, thick broth, no vegetables at all. It started as a way to use up hens that had quit laying. Churches have sold these as fundraisers since at least 1920. It's so built in that preachers up there price out a church project by how many chicken pies it'll take to pay for it. A congregation that measures a new roof in chicken pies. Same people gave us the love feast, a sweet bun and coffee passed down the pews during the service, not after it, during it. The broth is the enemy of the crust underneath. Underbake it and the bottom is raw paste. Quick one, because somebody's already typing it. Funeral potatoes are not Southern, that's Utah. That's the Relief Society, post-funeral luncheons, 150 years of it. And whoever told you different wasn't wrong that a potato casserole shows up when somebody dies. They were wrong about whose grandmother and wrong about the address. Our funeral food is fried chicken and deviled eggs and dressing and a pound cake. And it doesn't go to the church. It goes to the house, usually before the body's in the ground. All right, everything down to here, you'd have been proud to set on that table. From here down, 4 of these are the ones somebody got talked about for. The cake the church made her rename, the bowl that came home full, the one where the whole fellowship hall watched it happen. If you're the kind that wants the knowing before it's gone, go on and subscribe. At number 11, tomato aspic, the ring mold with a spoonful of mayonnaise in the middle. The one congealed salad that's genuinely savory, and savory gelatin is the exact thing a modern mouth refuses. Too little gelatin and it's cold soup. Too much and it bounces. But that's not the failure anybody remembers. Aspic is the dish most likely to come home untouched. And carrying a full bowl back out to the car, past everybody, is a thing a woman does not forget. Coming in at number 10, the bucket. Fried chicken didn't go anywhere. What went away is 8 women each frying 2 birds on a Saturday night. And that trade is real history. A scholar named Psyche Williams Forson documented black women in Gordonsville, Virginia, selling fried chicken through the windows of passing trains until the dining car killed it. One of them, interviewed in 1970 at 80, said this about her house. My mother paid for this place with chicken legs, and the tell at a potluck was always the foil. Chicken covered for 2 hours steams itself. The crust that was the entire point turns to wet skin, and everybody could tell which was which from the door. At number 9, the cake with 3 names. You know the one. Poke holes in a sheet cake, pour condensed milk and caramel down in them. It ran through newspaper food columns in the early 1980s, and its name was Better Than Sex Cake, which is not a thing you write on a card and set on a table in a Baptist fellowship hall. So it got laundered. Better than Robert Redford cake, holy cow cake. Same cake, 3 names, sorted by how many deacons were in the room. Same move as dressed eggs, back at 25. This church will rename your food before it lets it in the door. Poke the holes all the way down. Go halfway and you get a sweet crust on a dry cake, and the whole name falls apart. Landing at number 8, Lane Cake. Emma Rylander, Lane of Clayton, Alabama, published it herself in 1898. She'd called it prize cake because it won a county fair over in Georgia. 4 thin layers, a cooked custard of 12 egg yolks with raisins and coconut, and whiskey. In To Kill a Mockingbird, Miss Maudie's is loaded with shinny. And I'll be straight with you. I went looking for evidence this was ever served at dinner on the grounds, and I could not find any, and I think I know why. In a dry church, that wasn't a covered dish. That was a conversation. 12 yolks in a double boiler. Do not walk away. Walk away, and you've got sweet whiskey scrambled eggs. Coming in at number 7, chicken salad and the grapes. The forgotten version isn't the mayonnaise one that survived. It's pressed chicken set in its own stock until it gelled, then sliced cold into squares. Whole class of dish gone. And honestly, cold meat and jelly on a folding table in August is the unsentimental reason why. But that's not the fight, and you know it. Grapes. Put grapes in the chicken salad, and half that fellowship hall decided something about you before they got to the sweet tea. And at number 6, meringue. Not banana pudding. Banana pudding is doing fine. The meringue is what left. And the history isn't what you think. The first banana pudding recipe I can find ran in a magazine in 1888, made with sponge cake. The cookie company didn't put the recipe on the box until the 40s, decades after the dish already existed. They didn't invent banana pudding. They moved in on it. Meringue is egg white and nerve. Spread it on a filling gone cold or pull it early, and it beads and weeps and slides off in one sheet at the front table, where everybody was already looking. And that is exactly why whipped topping won. It doesn't weep, and it doesn't require you to know anything. Sitting at number 5, ambrosia. The real one, 1867. A Southern woman named Maria Massey Barringer put out a cookbook 2 years after the war. And this is the whole recipe. Grate the white of a coconut, sweeten it, layer it in a glass bowl with pulped oranges, coconut on top. 3 things. That's ambrosia. No marshmallows, no pineapple, no sour cream, and no whipped topping, because whipped topping did not exist until 1966. That dish is 99 years older than the stuff on top of it. Somewhere between Mrs. Barringer and your aunt, the marshmallows showed up, and I cannot tell you when. Nobody can. I looked. She wasn't wrong that ambrosia is old and Southern. What she had wrong is that hers was the original, and the original was a luxury. An orange and a whole coconut in a Southern winter in 1867 was showing off. That's why they named it after the food of the gods. Make it too far ahead, and the sugar pulls the juice out of the oranges, and it sits in a puddle. Landing at number 4, divinity. Egg whites and hot syrup beaten into a white candy. And here's what puts it on this list. You could only make it when the weather let you. Sugar syrup at that stage pulls water straight out of the air. On a humid southern day, the candy stays tacky, and it never firms. Not later, not ever. So it got made on cold, dry days, and knowing which day that was is not a number. There's no line on a recipe card for how the air feels. Miss the day, and you've got 12 dozen sticky lumps and nothing to do with them. Coming in at number 3, dried apple stack cake. Thin molasses layers with dried apples cooked down between them. And everybody's heard the story. Each wedding guest brought a layer and they stacked them up at the reception. I don't think that happened. And the reason is something anybody who's made one already knows. The cake takes 2 days. That filling has to soak into the layers and soften them. That's not resting. That's the recipe finishing. A stack cake put together at a wedding out of layers people carried in would be 6 dry cookies with jam between them. The waiting is the recipe, and the waiting never fits on a card. At number 2, and this one is not forgotten, it's extinct. Tunnel of fudge cake. A woman named Mrs. Helfrich out of Houston took second at a national bake-off with it in 1966, and it single-handedly saved the bunt pan. The original called for 1 package of a specific powdered frosting mix. Cocoa, sugar, hardened oil. That powder is what built the molten center. It was never under baking. It was chemistry in a box. That product was discontinued decades ago. The company's own replacement recipe says use cocoa powder instead, and it does not work. It has never worked. So here's what I want to say to somebody. For 40 years, people have made this cake, watched it come out wrong, and decided they'd lost their touch. You didn't fail. The ingredients stopped existing. And at number 1, Southern caramel cake. The cake is a yellow cake. It's the icing, and the icing is not icing. It's candy. You caramelize sugar in a skillet, add butter and milk and more sugar, cook it to softball, let it cool. Then you beat it and you spread it fast. The window is about 90 seconds wide. Beat it short and it runs off the sides and puddles on the plate. And she carried it in like that, past everybody, and set it down anyway. Beat it long and it seizes solid in the pot and you cannot get it out with a chisel. There's no sentence that hands that to somebody. There's no temperature to write down because the number isn't the thing. The thing is what it looks like going from shiny to dull and how fast your arm moves after. You learn it standing next to a woman who already has it, and you learn it by ruining 4. Caramel cake did not die because people stopped liking caramel cake. It died because it was a skill that only moved from one person to another person standing right there. That chain broke in one generation and the cake broke with it. Two more before we go. That secret family recipe, there's a decent chance it came off a package. Somebody collected 174 of these from readers, and a striking number turned out to be printed on the side of a box or a can or a free card from a department store counter. And there's a story everybody tells about church women leaving one ingredient out on purpose so nobody could copy it. I went looking, food history, folklore journals, oral histories, old newspapers. Not one documented case. People believe it, I can't prove it, and I'm not going to sell it to you. What I can prove is the box. Here's what I found at the end of all this. The pear salad, a food company, 1931. The green bean casserole, a test kitchen in New Jersey, 1955. The marshmallows on the sweet potatoes, a marshmallow company in 1917 trying to move product. Pimento cheese, an editor up in Boston, 1899. Every one of them documented. Year, city, name. Now go find out who made the green stuff, or the sherbet punch, or that caramel icing. You can't. Nobody can. The only recipes anybody can trace off that table are the ones a company wrote for her. Everything she came up with herself, she gave away 100 times over to whoever was standing next to her at the stove, and not one single time to a piece of paper. There's a Methodist cookbook out of Sampson County with her recipe in it, printed, bound, sold to build a church. Her name is right there under it. It says Mrs. W.B. Lamb. She wrote down the ingredients. She never wrote down the part that mattered. So tell me, what did your church make that nobody makes now? Whose recipe was it? What county was that church in? And what did y'all call it? Because the name you used is the one thing that isn't anywhere on the internet. And settle two things while you're down there. Grapes in the chicken salad, yes or no? Meringue or whipped topping? Next time, 10 things Southerners ate that would put you in handcuffs today. Until then, subscribe and put some South in your mouth.